based on. Welcome to Wild, Wise and Whole, a podcast for women ready to reconnect with their bodies, reclaim their power and embrace their truth. I'm your host, Lydia, a somatic psychotherapist, trauma release breathwork facilitator and embodiment coach, and I'm also a woman just like you. This show dives deep into the wisdom of the feminine body and the art of living authentically. Through conversations on somatics, nervous system healing, trauma recovery, cyclical living, feminine leadership, all of the beautiful things related to being wild, wise and whole as a woman, we are going to be exploring what those topics mean in today's world and how we get to embody them. So whether you're navigating burnout, you're seeking alignment, or you're stepping into your power, this podcast is your space to heal, expand and thrive. Let's settle in. And I hope you enjoy listening to heartfelt stories, figuring out practical tools, and listening to transformative discussions that help you reconnect with your rhythms, lead with your feminine energy, and live a life rooted in truth and wholeness. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Wild, Wise and Whole. So today is going to be a shorter episode. It's going to be an experiential episode. And before I jump into telling you what that's going to be about, I just want to remind you that on the 10th to the 14th of April, I am holding a free 5-day embodied experience going into the nervous system, healing your nervous system, but also all of the topics that I personally have worked through and the core themes of the women that I work with in my private practice when it comes to like somatic work, when it comes to trauma healing work, and almost like those psycho-spiritual experiences that we have as women, and you know, those things that keep us dysregulated and stop us from really stepping into authentic expression and really finding safety in our bodies and who we are. So I have spoke about this in the previous openings to my episodes, but just to remind you again, the link is below in my bio, and over the 5 days we're going to be going into what dysregulates us in the nervous system, and I'm really going to be teaching you about these topics so you can go away and really understand what's happening for you, and how important some of these deeper rooted topics are in your lived experience. So day 1 is about like people pleasing, struggling to set boundaries, like guilt and shame, and how that keeps us massively disconnected and overgiven, which obviously causes dysregulation, which causes women to be a lot more burnt out, which then results in like a lot more women with autoimmune diseases because they suppress and they overgive. And then the second day I'm going to be going into sexuality, so teaching you about how sexuality links to your nervous system, why it is so deeply regulating and healing to start to work with your sexual energies, to start to connect to your pelvis, and how it's so much more than like sex when we think about what sexual energy is and when we start to tap into that. And also the reasons why, like when we don't have that, it causes a disconnect from the body, it causes dysregulation in the nervous system, it stops us from, just like tapping into vitality, creativity, like all of these beautiful feminine qualities. And then the third day is going to be around rage and anger, because again, massive theme that I work with in sessions with women, something I've worked with in my own healing journey, and why it's so important for your nervous system to tap into rage and have healthy expressions of rage, and why it's really important to be in that like healthy sympathetic drive in your nervous system, why it's so important for your healing, for your development, for again reconnecting back to your body, but also finding safety. So these themes are massively going to be linked in the concept of feeling safe in our bodies, because it's so much more than just like, okay, what is dysregulating you, and you'll see information on like nervous system states and all of that stuff, but actually when we just zoom out from that and take a step back, I know as a therapist and someone who works with women and does a lot of work with women's bodies and the female experience, and also I've done this myself, but I know it's so much more than just that, and the things that we feel, we experience, we kind of have like our shadow sides, the things that bring us shame, like our experiences that feel uncomfortable, they also cause dysregulation and a disconnect. So that's what I'm going to be going into over the 5 days. There's going to be prizes for people who engage, who like really get the most out of it, because I've never given this much free time and taught this at this depth at any point, even when I was a self-love coach. as a psychotherapist. Like, I've never done that. So actually it feels really, really good to be holding such a nice space. And for those people who really immerse themselves in the 5 days, there's going to be lots of somatic practices, there's going to be a lot of knowledge, there's going to be some breath work, there's going to be joy, there's going to be all of those lovely things. So yeah, join the link in the bio below to come along. I can't wait to have you. So now that's out the way, let me talk to you about what we're going to be going into in this episode. So as I said, it's a little bit more experiential, and it is a little bit more experiential. And actually what we're going to be going into is the felt sense. Okay, so what that actually means is being able to tune into your body and notice like a feeling, or maybe it's a sensation, or maybe it's a temperature of the skin, and it's basically bringing in this bodily awareness that allows you to start to access your inner wisdom. Okay, so it's not just emotion. And the reason why I decided to do this is because obviously I've been on 3 days intensive training in my biodynamic breathwork certification. And one of the things we've been going into is like felt sense. We've been practice resonance. We've been going into all of these lovely qualities that I use in the somatic, as a somatic practitioner, and also in doing breath work with women now. And one of the things that got me thinking about is when I bring felt sense into sessions, women will automatically say to me, I don't know what emotion I feel. And it's so much more beyond the emotion. So felt sense is so good. And the reason why I'm going to guide you through it to practice it is because you can notice this anywhere. Like, you can be out in the park, and I always say, you'll hear me talking on Instagram all of the time. You'll hear me say in my podcast episodes, notice what you're feeling in a moment that, feels good for you, as much as you notice what's happening when you feel triggered or you feel upset. It's like, okay, what are you noticing when you're in moments of joy and bliss? Like, what are you noticing when you're in nature? If you think it's grounding, what does that feel like in your body? How do you know that? Because you start to then bring this somatic language online of your body. And also this helps you like massively access the wisdom of your body, start to build like an association, an awareness of what is happening in your body without it feeling too overwhelming. And this is also a really nice way that you can start to dip into feeling sensations, emotions that maybe feel too much. Like I think sometimes we get so caught up in like, let's go into the emotion, but actually for a lot of women that I work with, that can be super dysregulating and feel really unsafe in the body. So when you start to bring in felt sense tracking, it just helps bridge that gap between like mind and body, right? And I think also this is really nice because this is something that even if you're in therapy, if you're working with a coach and they're not bringing like body-based stuff into that, you can keep checking in. Like when you're talking about something, what are you feeling? What are you noticing, right? And like I said, it's so much more than just an emotion. So you're going to notice like sensations, muscle sensations, temperature changes, like all of these different things, and it's great. So instead of me talking about it, over talking about it, I'm actually going to guide you through this. So what I would say is like, try not to do this if you're in somewhere where you feel like it's going to be really distracting. I don't want you to do that. And yeah, if it feels good, we can just like drop into the body now and guide you through some lovely things. So what I'm going to invite you to do is just take a moment, the first thing, to just get like comfortable. So whatever that means for you. So you could actually listen to this if you're walking. You could actually listen to this if you're driving. I just advise you to not obviously close your eyes down. So if you feel like you would be able to tune in more if you close your eyes down, then feel free to do it at a different time. So if you're sitting somewhere listening to this, close your eyes and get yourself nice and comfortable. And then the first thing I'm going to invite you to notice is, how are you breathing in this moment? Is your breath shallow, short, chest-based? Or are you breathing into the body? Are you breathing into the stomach? Can you notice the expansion and contraction of the diaphragm? What's going on for you in this moment? And what's so beautiful is felt sense is something that you can return to at any time and place, and also so is your breath. And I'm just going to invite you to just take a really nice deep breath into the body. Nice, exhale out, lovely. Maybe just take 1 or 2 more of those. And what's really beautiful about felt sense is it starts to shift our focus from the external to the internal, the ever-present language of the body, what is happening in real time in our bodies, and it really anchors us into the present moment. Now I just want you to check in with the question, what am I feeling in this moment? Just get super curious, bringing your awareness down into your body. And again, there's no right or wrong. So just with this question, what do I feel in my physical body at the moment? Maybe it's a sensation. Maybe it's a twitch. Maybe there's some muscle sensations, trembling, pulsing, crampy. Maybe you feel a tension. Do you notice anywhere in the body that feels like it's throbbing slightly? Maybe there's a shiver. Maybe you notice some skin sensations. Does it feel dry? Do you feel a bit sweaty? Do you feel a bit flushed? Are you tingly anywhere? Temperature, how do you feel? How's the temperature of your body? Is your skin quite cool? Is it cold? Do you feel warm? Are you hot? So I notice now there's like as I grip the microphone, I can feel like a heat around my hands. And the skin sensation for me would be like clammy. Just noticing. Just let your awareness kind of like glaze and guide over your internal landscape. And if you notice the mind comes in, it's like, I don't feel anything. It's like, okay, just take another breath and just bring your awareness down into the body. There's always something for us to notice. Even tension is a something, right? Like when we think about it in terms of somatic language and felt sense. Or maybe it's some contracting sensations that you feel. Is there a space in your body that feels a little bit stuck, blocked? Do you feel tense? Do you feel tight? Does it actually feel like really constricted to get a full breath into your body? Like, do you feel like there's something that's just making it a little bit harder? What are you noticing? Or maybe actually when you drop in, you feel there's some expansive sensations. So maybe you feel like you're radiating. You feel like there's a flow to your body. You feel like you're glowing. You feel quite relaxed. Or maybe you feel quite calm. Do you feel buzzed if you had a long day? What's going on for you? If you woke up feeling energized, do you feel tired? Just keep checking in and noticing what you notice. And then any sensations that you do notice, what's the intensity of those sensations? Just noticing any duality that exists in your body as you track your felt sense. So maybe there's a space that feels tense, but maybe also there's a space that feels quite open. So for me in this moment now, I notice my shoulders feel quite tense, but my stomach feels quite soft. Do these sensations, the intensity often, do they feel sharp? Is it like a hard sensation that you feel? Does it feel like a pressure? Is it like a dullness? Does it feel weak so like you can feel it, but it doesn't feel quite prominent? Is it strong? Does it instantly catch your awareness as you drop into your body? So just noticing these different sensations, muscle sensations, skin sensations, expansive sensations, contracting sensations, temperature, the intensity, and then the whole body sensations. And what you should start to notice or see is that there's always a communication going on in the body. And the invitation as you scan into your body and you bring your awareness in is not to make it mean anything in this moment. All you're simply doing is tracking and bringing your awareness to your felt sense. And I'm going to invite you now to notice, or just stay with one sensation that doesn't feel too much for you to notice. Just noticing where you feel that. So in what space in the body are you feeling this sensation you brought your awareness to? And what happens when you bring your awareness to this space? Does it change? Does it move? Does it expand? Does it contract? Is it a thread linking to something else in the body? You feel like it's connected to another sensation that you feel? Does it feel quite neutral to bring your awareness to it? And then if I was to say to you, what colour and texture does it have? If it was a colour, what colour would it be? And instantly just let the first colour come to mind. And I want you to just, again, get curious. What does that colour mean to you? What does that colour represent? So maybe red is heat. Maybe red is love. You know? If there's a darker colour that's come up, it's like, okay, what does that make you think of? Maybe there's a lightness. A lot of time, if there's expansive sensations for clients, it might be like a yellow, and yellow might make them think of the sunshine. It brings a warmth to the body. It feels like almost a smile in the body. Thinking about for you, what colour would this sensation have? And what's the texture of it? Again, thinking about the intensity, and the texture, would it be like a misty sensation? Is it like a block? Is it like a little ball? Does it feel fluid? Does it feel dense? Does it spread? Does it feel heavy? And then if you can just bring like some physical touch to this space, it can simply be your hand over this space, and just take some breaths into it. If you can't touch the space physically, just try to see if you can breathe into this space. Nice soft exhales out the mouth, nothing forced, nothing super effort. That requires, really effort. And as you bring your awareness to this space, just again noticing, like now you've brought your awareness in, does anything shift, change, arise? And then the last thing I'm going to invite you to connect to is, if this sensation could speak, what would it say? And it's okay if nothing comes up. Like, what's this felt sense communicating and telling you in your body? Is there anything that feels super intuitively like would come forward? just being really curious. This is about just becoming a curious witness to yourself, a compassionate witness to yourself, and also remembering that the body is always communicating to us all of the time. And this is the essence of somatic work. Felt sense is such an important tool. Before we do all of the big stuff, before we, put together all of our techniques and all of the things and all of the practices and all of the rituals, you will hear me say time and time and time again, simplicity. Felt sense tracking is simplicity. Felt sense tracking is going to build safety. It's going to build awareness. It is going to connect you more to your body. It is going to help you notice when you're dysregulated and triggered or anxious or overwhelmed. What's the somatic language of that underneath the emotion? You get to know the landscape of your body. And this is so, so important for building capacity in your body to process trauma. If you are not doing this and you are diving straight into traumatic material, it is going to overload your system. This is what you start to do to build capacity, even if it's to anger, even if it's to anxiety, even if it's to joy, it's to pleasure. You can do this felt sense tracking as you're having an orgasm. You can do this as you're in sex with your partner, as you're playing with your baby, as you're leaving work for the day versus when you started work, when you're exercising. It's a technique that you can bring in so easily to your everyday life. And if there's anything that arose for you that was of interest, and if you want to continue to do this and keep tracking in, connecting in and make it a little bit longer with a practice, then you can do. You can bring in some breath if that feels good for you. Just taking a nice deep breath to close down the practice, and a soft exhale out, bringing the voice in. Lovely. Bringing in some vocal toning. And as you do this and practice it, just notice when you bring your awareness to sensation, maybe that activates, a little bit of anxiety. And then it's like, okay, what am I noticing in that sensation? So sometimes when we bring and we practice felt sense, we can also see that certain sensations will link to other sensations or bring different things into our awareness, and we start to really, it's like a ping pong ball that moves around the body. It's really fascinating. So I hope that was helpful to just practice felt sense tracking on this podcast episode. Really simple, but something that's super effective, and you can tap into it at any point that you want to. So I shall see you next week for another episode. Enjoy. Thank you for being here, and keep practicing in your own time, tracking your felt sense and connecting to your body.